the Trevor Jackson Podcast.
You know, hip hop is definitely under attack. I want to get into this clip though. We're going to switch the topic up. You know, on my platform, the most viewed episode of all time is when I was on the channel celebrating Outkast becoming, members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We just got through talking about Jay-Z. He is a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But they are in two totally different genres of music. Like, why is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame implementing hip hop artists? Why are they implementing country artists into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? That's a totally different genre. But Kiss, the legendary group Kiss, one of the members from the group was on a podcast recently, Gene Simmons, and he spoke about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and how he feels about them implementing artists from other genres.
Who determines relevance? Critics? Who? What is that? What is that word? How do you get you're relevant? Who does that? Or is it the American idea and ideal of the people, for the people, by the people? The first words are "we the people." Mm-hmm. That's relevance to me. The fact that, for instance, Iron Maiden is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when they can sell out stadiums, and Grandmaster Flash is.
Right.
Ice Cube and I had a back and forth, and he's a bright guy, and I respect what he's done. It's not my music. It doesn't speak my language. And I said in print many times, hip hop does not belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, nor does opera, symphony orchestras. How come the New York Philharmonic doesn't get the rock and roll? Because it's called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But he shot back and said, no, it's the spirit of rock and roll. Okay, fine. So Ice Cube and Grandmaster Flash and all these guys are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I just want to know when Led Zeppelin's going to be in the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, really? No. Music has labels because it describes an approach. Mm-hmm. By and large, rap, hip hop, it is a spoken word art. And you put, beats in back of it, and somebody comes up with a musical phrase, but it's verbal. There are some melodies, but by and large, it's a verbal thing. It's rhyming and all that. And I know Eminem can go. I wish him more success. I really don't give a fuck. It just doesn't speak to me. With the genius of being able to put words and music and arrange it, it's much more complex. Here, I'll show you what I mean.
I know Eminem can go. Hey, that shit was funny as hell when I first see that interview. I watched that interview in its entirety too. Let me turn this jazz down. I don't know why it turned up. The interview was interesting. It was interesting, just to be honest with you. I had to watch it in totality once he started talking about hip hop and they don't belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and, relevance. When the clip first came on and he started talking about relevance, that was interesting to me also, because who determines what relevance is and who isn't relevant? The social media, young people. When you have different artists who may not be popping on social media that is popping in the real world. You have different type of individuals that can pack a stadium or an arena that you don't see on your social media. Who determines who and who isn't relevant? Based upon age, you had a young folks saying that, they old, they ain't popping no more. But we the only genre that does that. But like the show say, hip hop is under attack. The man even called Ice Cube bright. He didn't say Ice Cube was smart. He didn't say Ice Cube was talented. He didn't say Ice Cube was a dope creator. He didn't say that he was an intellectual, smart, or one of the best rappers in the world. He called him bright. He tried to minimize his light. He tried to minimize Cube's light, and I didn't like that. It was an undertone of fuck them niggas in his conversation. It was kind of hidden, But I ain't gonna say that he's racist. He may be racist, but I ain't gonna say that he's racist because, if you know your history, he went to the person who, one of the individuals who created rock and roll, who contributed to the creation of rock and roll. That's Chuck Berry. He went to his funeral and he told him, he paid his homages to the black man who created rock and roll. So I ain't gonna give him the racist title because he does have some sort of decorum or whatever when it comes to respecting the people who created the genre for him, even though they ain't of the same race. So salute to that. Even though Chuck Berry was on Diddy type time, he got convicted of the Mann Act also. So it's just interesting to hear him talk about this or whatever, though. Even though black people created the genre, they took over the genre. I ain't one of those type of people that will say that they stole, because they don't be stealing stuff, really, to be honest with you. They be taking shit. I know that sounds harsh and we don't want to speak like that, but they don't be stealing. They be taking over stuff, and we allow it. We don't supposed to allow people to take over jazz, take over rock and roll, take over the things that we created, country music, hip hop. I can see hip hop going a different direction, if we don't hunker down and say, this is ours. This is what we created. We already had Fat Joe, somebody that people listen to a lot, say that Puerto Ricans deserve 50% of the creation of hip hop, which was blasphemous behavior when hip hop and rapping was going on before it even got monetizable in New York City. I took a few notes for this because KISS, the group that he was a part of, KISS, it was an acronym. People started using the acronym and saying that KISS stood for Kids in Service of Satan. What y'all thoughts about that? Like, kids in service of Satan. That's just, kind of dark. Real talk. I want to play the clip of Chuck D before I get my final take, because I got a take on this that I think that y'all going to appreciate. But I want to play Chuck D's response to Gene Simmons.
Well, number one, Gene Simmons seems to say this every 3 years anyway. And I guess when the latest group of hip hop artists and rap music artists come in, he's going to issue his point. I mean, he's a rock god, But what he fails to realize is that it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And everything else other than rock, when rock and roll splintered in the 60s, is the roll. And soul music, reggae, hip hop, which is rap music, because hip hop is a culture. So it embodies, sight, sound, story, and style. But music, the vocal on top of the music has already been determined. So that's the roll, that's the flow, that's the soul in it. KISS are rock gods, but they don't have a lot of roll to them. I'm black, born in 1960. Being told that I don't belong doesn't even faze me. You know what I'm saying? I really relish the opportunity that I'm able to even be in the music business at all. And thank God for hip hop and rap music making it possible. If somebody would have told me in 12th grade in 1977 that I would be making records or being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, even, or whatever, number one, I would have been scratching my head like, doing as what? I had no idea. Well, he ain't never going to get off at that point. So, we're in a time where everybody's saying everything at the same time. Nobody's really listening. So Gene is going to probably scream out that probably for the rest of his life. And, he's entitled to his opinion, and he's dealt in the, into the music for so long that his opinion is probably going to be stuck to him. However, I've been, a musicologist of note. I'm not a plug guy, but I just recently put out this week, and then I taught a UCLA class for 10 weeks on exactly the threads of what the culture is about, how the music is related, not just 100 years back and or 150 years back in documentation, but how it goes back, maybe 1,000 years.
Let me give Chuck D a round of applause before we even further along in the conversation. Why my clip pulling up before I even want to talk about that? We're gonna get to that story though here soon. Let me give a brother a round of applause. Real talk. You know, that was interesting. I was born in 1980. He was born in 60. I didn't even know that he was 66 years old. Him and Flavor Flav been in the game for a long time. Round of applause again to Chuck D, Public Enemy, for their contributions. I'm going to go purchase his book on Audible. I ain't going to get the reading copy because I want to be able to react to it and all of that. And I can digest the information faster when I'm listening to it besides reading it, because I have a lot going on and I can multitask while I'm listening to things. You know, hip hop has been emulating rock and having inspiration from rock for a long time, all the way down to when Run DMC collaborated with Aerosmith, even though if you know the history, Aerosmith was on the back end of their career and Run DMC actually revived them when they was cold by remaking their song and making it cool again. Rock was on its way out in the 80s. We revived it. You know, we see artists like Lil Wayne who created a rock album. To me, it was trash. I ain't gonna cap to you. It was trash, but it had a good record on there. It had a real damn good record. Probably one of my favorite records from Lil Wayne on that rock album. We see the Little Uzi verse with the diamond in the forehead, the way he be dressing and all of that. The Playboy Cardis and, you know, the people that is inspired by rock. Even Tupac was inspired by rock because it was one of these award shows where he brought Kiss out with him during an award show. So I feel like hip hop kept rock alive longer than, you know, it would have existed. Pop rock and soft rock and classic 80s rock. It's just rock is in a place where it was branching off. It had genres within the genre. And I'm not hating on rock and roll artists because, you know, I'm going to the studio to finish up my album this weekend, and I go to a rock studio. It's interesting. The process of recording is much more complex than hip hop. So I kind of understand what Gene Simmons is talking about. But what I want to close with my take. This is my take on it. You know, I look around at everything that we want to do as black folks, and it seems like, you know, validation. We have to be validated by the Caucasian, or what the Caucasian has taken from us, evolved it and made it feel like it's theirs when it's really ours. We had the Negro League, baseball teams. You know, the MLB was paying more. We wanted to go that direction. You know what I'm saying? So we could feel validated and get paid more. BET was a music video channel, but it wasn't validated till it was on TRL or MTV's music channel, because that was a form of validation. To me, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is theirs. Without our contribution to it, it wouldn't even be of value anymore. It wouldn't even be of value. Why we don't have our own hip hop Hall of Fame where we can highlight our own, and why we don't value it when we do create it? We have to seek validation from the Caucasian. It's just interesting. There's more things that I could talk about that we do to seek validation that I feel like we should show more appreciation to our own, such as award shows. Why we don't have the Black Grammy? And don't even name it Grammy. You know, name it something else, the higher standard of our music, and they should come to our thing and appreciate what we got going on. You know what I'm saying? And prioritize what we got going on. It's just interesting, man, that we have to be validated by the Caucasian. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you know, I was hard on Andre 3000 for not performing and not, you know, doing his thing at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year, because they won and they got inducted. Salt and Pepper got inducted, but forget the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Andre 3000 didn't perform because he don't really give a shit about it. That's not even the genre of music that they was making. So I don't know. I feel like we got to prioritize our own, create our own, and salute to Chuck D for defending hip hop. But hip hop is hip hop. Rock and roll is rock and roll. Gene Simmons got a point. He may offend some with his racial undertone and his, we want to be included. We may deserve to be in it because we created it, but it feels like an inclusion type of thing that, we don't need validation, man. Create our own.
The Trevor Jackson Podcast.